Welcome to 7 Pot Club. I'm Rob.
I grow hot peppers.
It's a crisp fall afternoon as we enter the final days of Pepper Garden 2020. This is part 2 of my Walking the Pepper Path garden tour. Like it or not, winter is definitely on the horizon here in Minneapolis. Still hoping for a couple more weeks to ripen more pods, so fingers crossed that we can dodge tonight's frost advisory. In this episode, we'll take a look at garden footage shot over a month ago, when peppers were peaking. If you enjoy our content, please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and tap the bell to be notified when we post new episodes. Here's the front yard as it looked back in late August. In part 1, we covered the north side of the garden. Today, the south side. This area includes not just pots, but 40 in-ground plants. As you can see, it's about 3 times the size of the north side. In order to keep this video from getting way too long, I'm not going to give much coverage to varieties I featured in part 1. Hang with me for the whole tour, and I guarantee you'll see a lot of plants and peppers, including some with which you may not be familiar. First, let's take a quick overview jaunt around the perimeter while listening to The Ripening, a short, anthemic ode to summer I recorded a couple of years back.
Welcome to the ripening, it's already begun. Colors changing everywhere, encouraged by the sun. Germination, transplantation, fertilizer and hydration. Now welcome to the ripening. Welcome to the ripening. Welcome to the ripening under brilliant summer sun. The heat index is rising, and in more ways than one. There's a trace of sadness when harvesting begins. Soon summer will be ending and the cycle starts again. So welcome to the ripening. Oh, welcome to the ripening. Welcome to the ripening.
Here we go. Talk about the ripening. Here's a King Naga with some gloriously red pods. Behold, the Kangstar Scarlet Rose. Just like Kang's Levin Starburst, it's a cross of an MOA Scotch bonnet and a Bahamian goat. None are ripe today, but here's a photo of a pod I picked earlier. Very tasty, habanero level heat. Next to that is the pride of St. Augustine, Florida, the daddle. Capsicum chinense with about 100,000 Scoville units of heat and nice flavor. Not sure where it originated, but it's been grown in Florida for hundreds of years. Here's white hot lime. I believe these are related to Bula. They ripen to yellow-green and are quite hot, with a hint of lime. I got these seeds from Peter Stanley. Brain strain, purple to chocolate. I actually showed you this plant for a few seconds in part 1, but it's so cool that here's another brief glimpse. Bain strain peach is a super hot developed by Kevin Bain. Here's another Kangstar variety, the Texas Crimson Bonnet. Ah, the Zolotyschi. I was given these seeds. I knew the variety was Russian, but that's about it. Turns out it's a really large and tasty sweet pepper that ripens to yellow. If I had known, I would have planted it in the ground, or at least in a larger pot. Jigsaw peach. We'll encounter a larger one of these in the main bed. Here's Mini Ricotta red. This is a plant I overwintered. It was doing well about 10 days before this footage was shot, and then it just decided to wilt and die for some reason. At least we got one ripe pepper from it, which I ate in a previous episode. definitely a mystery. Speaking of mysteries, here's the plant I dubbed Ghost Mystery. I got the seeds from Pascal Canning, and he said it was a cross of unknown parentage. I have 2 of these plants, and they both have just one main stalk that runs right up the center. Really odd, as most pepper plants branch out near the base. Okay, here's the pepper from our recent seed giveaway. The Ecuadorian red pepper for hell. First, here's the plant I overwintered. It's showing no signs of stress, and even has some new fruit. And here is its offspring, grown this year. It's a little droopy out here in the hot sun, but it's doing great as well. As I record this commentary over a month later, it's got lots of new fruit. A very productive plant. The Charapan Amarillo, featured in my pepper tasting video last year. To me, this Chinense beauty from Peru is kind of like a giant ají charapita. And speaking of charapita, there's one right next door. Picking these fresh at mealtime is a highlight of summer for me. Here's the famous KSLS, Kangstar Lemon Starburst. Everyone loves the UFO-like shape, and they're so very tasty. Next, a pretty little dwarf chiltepin. These little plants are so productive. Look at all those pods. Here's a 7-pot primo crossed with a butch tea scorpion. These pods ripen to yellow. 7-pot West, seeds courtesy of Peter Stanley. First time growing these. Here's a nice ripe pod. 7-pot Barrackpore. This is one of the first 7 pots that I ever grew. Sweet Christmas is a really nice mild pepper. It's a cross between a Blue Christmas ornamental and Greek Stavros peperoncini. Ahi Ethiopian Fire, one of my faves. A Baccatum from Northern Africa. The famous Tabasco. Capsicum frutescens, with a little Chinense mixed in there. There's an interesting story about that I'll share with you in the future. Of course, these are red when ripe. I don't really know as much as I'd like about C22. I was sent 3 variations as a bonus in my last seed order from Semillas La Palma. This is the peach version. There are 2 Hawaiian plants right next to each other. These are frutescens and very similar to Tabasco. This plant is just starting to produce. Now, we're coming around to the plant shelf. When we had this stone hardscaping done 10 years ago, we only had a few pots, and this shelf was intended to give them a front row seat. Our companion portulaca are really out of control this year. In some of these pots, they're actually bigger than the pepper plants. Really should be pinching them off to get more blooms, but frankly, who has the time? Okay, so here's the other Hawaiian, and we have some nice ripe pods on this one. Thanks again to Jack Jordan for sending us the seeds. Next, the M.A. Teja Habanero, seeds courtesy of Jimmy Johnson. M.A. stands for the creator, Matthew Arthur. In part 1, I mistakenly referred to him as Matthew Arnold, and Mr. Arthur, I apologize for that error. I have 2 of these plants, and they both have curled leaves. But it hasn't affected the production of these beautiful dark pods that ripen to orange. And they're so tasty. Little Elf, an ornamental with multicolored, mildly hot pods. This one had a good run, but it's winding down now. You can see how many have been picked from this plant. Cap 521, a wild Chinense with hot pods that have a rich but neutral taste that really lets the long-lasting heat stand out. First year growing these. CGN 22795 is a very rare Capsicum praetermissum. It's lost a lot of leaves, not sure why, but it's still pumping out a lot of tiny, hot, smoky tasting pods. Here's Blue Christmas. If you follow us on social, You know we like to post photos of these gorgeous pods that go through several changes of color on their way to red. During that journey, they also develop spots, streaks, and modeling of contrasting colors. It's really quite a show. It's our first year growing Madame Jeanette, a really nice orange habanero from the South American country of Suriname. Sweet, fruity, floral, and hot. Ice Cream Scorpion, a nice punny name. A super hot that ripens to a kind of dreamsicle color. Bulgarian Carrot. It turns bright orange, looks and crunches like a carrot. Some usually ripen in June and the rest late in the season. We're still waiting for that ripening today. Here's another C22 variant, the C22 Stinger. Seems to be true to type. Sunrise Scorpion. The ripe pods usually have a subtle gradation in color. Here are more Ahi Charapita. Habanero Martinique, from the Caribbean island nation of the same name. Now, here's an interesting variety. The seeds of the Carmel Limo were sent to me from Peru by Ren Gonzalez. He saved the seeds from a pod he found in a local market. These are large hot peppers that turn lots of colors, ending on a deep red. I'll be tasting this in an upcoming episode. Habanero Cristina, very similar to the jelly bean habanero. Rainforest. Interesting shape, but not especially hot or flavorful. To me. Seven Pot Peach. Quite a variation in pod shape. Heading into the smaller ground bed. Have to be careful to keep my footing. It's been a great year for marigolds. Maybe too good, as you can see how they're crowding this small Bulgarian carrot. Ahi Amarillo. This is probably the tallest pepper plant in the garden. Very large pods. I hope some of these ripen to yellow without being attacked by grasshoppers. You can get a brief glimpse of Wanks Yellow Hots as I dive in to pick a ripe KS Starracha pumpkin. Look at this Tabasco plant just covered with pods. Can't wait to make a sauce with these. Here's Sweet Shido, a Stavros Shishido cross. It's hard to see the plant markers in this jungle, so glad I made this chart I can refer to. Reaching way down low to extract this large and in charge Big Sun habanero. I love these. And here's a Shishido and a Sweet Shido. And presenting jalapeno. We do really try to grow a little of everything. Jelly bean habanero. These are such great producers. Ghostly Hawaiian. A cross between ghost pepper and Hawaiian. Very hot, but not as hot as a regular ghost. This plant is quite large. Okay, back on pot detail. Here's Butla XP F4. We saw this in part 1. Curled up, bumpy pods with crazy colors. Ahi Criollo. Very nice pods, without much heat. 7 Pot Orange Yellow. What a beauty. A really classic super hot. Palmyra. A sweet Syrian pepper. Just like the Russian Solondisyi I showed you earlier, I had no idea these would get so large. They have no heat, but they're really sweet and delicious. Ignore the transposed label. This is an EOSB, Elysium Oxide Scotch Bonnet. Trinidad Scorpion Yellow Cardi. Bred for agriculture, not for appearance. A scorpion without a tail. 7 Pot Mad Balls. A nice chocolate 7 Pot. Ahi Charapita Red. Another very nice, productive chinense from Peru. Speaking of a chinense from Peru, Here's Hot Paper Lantern. I know it's crazy to say that a plant projects positive vibes, but I really feel that from this one. Habanero heat with a smooth, tangy flavor. Habanero Vietnam. I really love this hotter than average hab. Bangladeshi. Saved seeds from some pods our friend Esper gave us last year. This is a staple of Bangladeshi and Pakistani cuisine. They're picked by hand and dried in the sun. Here's a chiltepin. These grow wild in parts of Mexico and the southwestern US. Capsicum annuum. They are hot, but not as hot as most Peruvian bird peppers. Chocolate scorpion. Another scorpion without any kind of tail. Next to that, a KS Starracha hornet, a Scotch bonnet reaper cross. These are very hot and they have a great flavor. I ain't afraid of no Boot Jalokia orange. Here's another ghostly jalapeno, and this one has a real gnarly looking ripe pod. I guess this is the haunted section of the garden, because here's also a Nagamorich right next door. 7-Pot Jonah is another one I've grown for many years. Habanero hot lemon is very hot and citrusy. Apocalypse chocolate. This is a powerful super hot, but I think the name is somewhat hyperbolous. And I know we just saw a Nagamorich, but this one has some really nice ripe peppers to share. And that's the end of the row. Now, onto the main bed. I've moved pots onto the driveway so that we can get a really good look. Here's Dragon's Breath. It may not be a distinct variety, but it's a really nice 7-pot cultivar, and the pods are as hot as anything I've ever tasted. Next to that, a really cool white ghost. Aren't these beautiful? So, the remaining 6 plants in this row are all Carolina Reapers. I grew a lot of these, more than we can use for ourselves, because we trade them for other produce. As you can see, there are quite a few ready to harvest. Now, we'll dive right into the main bed. Here's a ghostly jalapeno. Corolla laranja, which is Portuguese for orange pearl. It's from Brazil, not dissimilar to ají charapita, but color not as bright, and taste is subtly different. Hiding under these leaves are more KS lemon starburst. Next to that is ají Ethiopian red. So many of these plants were severely cold shocked at the beginning of the season, and I'm very happy they recovered so well. Okay, here's what I think is a Matafrade Red Savina cross. It's from some open-pollinated Matafrade seeds I collected back in 2015. The foliage is not as dark as Matafrade, and the pods have a really pronounced pointy tip like a Red Savina. I did some social media posts on these recently, you might have seen. I asked for suggestions for a name for this cross, and Ryan Scott on Facebook suggested strawberries. I love that, and that's what I'm going to call it. 7-Pot Brain Strain Yellow. Look at how large this one is. Pretty much perfect. Some of the credit definitely goes to Fishner Organic Fish Manure Compost. It's markedly improved my results, especially in these ground beds. Here's Fatali, a habanero-like chinets from Africa. I kept hearing how great these are, so I started growing them last year. And now I get it. Very hot, with a fresh, sweet, and tangy flavor. Drama Queen, seeds courtesy Jimmy Johnson. The pods are okay, but I think of this more as an ornamental. It's so big and showy. It was even bigger before we accidentally snapped a branch off it. It demands a lot of attention and gets it. Here's Red Savina, one of the hottest habaneros, M.A. Teja habanero. As I mentioned earlier, Both of mine have severely curled leaves. Wondering if it's a trait or a deficiency. Jigsaw Peach, looking all gnarly. You saw so many of these in part 1, the 7-pot Primo Orange. I wonder how many pounds have been harvested this year. Another pepper familiar from part 1, the 7-pot Katy. Ahi Russian Yellow is so much like an ahi pineapple, but with an earthier, slightly less soapy flavor. Before we conclude this marathon episode, here's a flyover of our dining room table covered with peppers we harvested on September the 23rd. I don't think this was our largest daily harvest of the season, but it certainly represents a wide variety of varieties. I'm very happy when I hear from viewers who tell me they were inspired to start growing peppers after watching our channel. We start the seeds indoors early in the year, and this is the reward. Beautiful fruit that can be eaten raw or processed and preserved into all sorts of tasty treats. So many different colors, shapes, sizes, flavors, and heat levels. So many countries represented. It's still a thrill after all these years. Each season brings new varieties, new challenges, new adventures, and new friends. Gardening has been one of the few bright spots in a very challenging year. Thanks for sharing this experience with us. As this season comes to a close, I'm already collecting seeds and thinking about what I should plant next year. I want to give a shout out today to Kevin Sparks, a restaurateur, seafood purveyor, and 7-Pot Club fan. Thanks for watching, Kevin. Well, it looks like we managed to dodge a bullet. We did not get the hard frost that they predicted might happen. Some of the plants look a little bedraggled today, but I think they're going to live on for hopefully another week or so at least. Temps are projected to get up into the 60s and possibly 70 next week. If you want to see how things turn out, be sure to follow our daily exploits on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. You know, winter is coming. You're going to need things like hoodies, sweatshirts, hats, face masks. Why not get some with cool 7-Pot Club and hot pepper related designs on them? Check them all out at 7pot.club/merch. And if you haven't sent in your self-addressed stamped envelope to get your 7-Pot Club membership card and stickers, go to 7pot.club and get all the details. We'll see you again real soon. For 7-Pot Club, I'm Rob.